You can be having a genuinely good day. Think of your parents with real affection. Call home for no reason other than love, and still end up defending yourself within 10 seconds. The phone rings, they pick up, and before you even finish saying hello, it lands.
Oh, so you finally remembered how to use a phone.
That is the part people outside this dynamic never fully understand. The sentence is small, the shift is brutal. You call with warmth and get answered with a scorecard. In that moment, you are no longer the grown adult who reached out. You are the child who took too long. Sometimes the problem is not that you forgot to call. It is that in their mind, love is measured by frequency, not feeling. Love should feel like connection, not like attendance. Most people outside this dynamic do not understand how predictable it becomes. You see mom or dad light up on your phone, and your body reacts before your brain has time to think. Your stomach tightens, your shoulders drop. Not because you do not love them, but because you already know the first 30 seconds might feel like an interrogation disguised as concern. You start preparing your defense before the call even connects. You run through explanations in your head. Work has been insane. The kids have been sick. You have been exhausted. You meant to call last weekend. You rehearse your tone so you do not sound careless, even though you are already bracing for impact. Then the call begins exactly the way you feared. A sigh, a pause, a comment that sounds like humor but lands like judgment. We were starting to think you forgot about us. Must be nice to be that busy. Don't worry about us, we're still alive. None of these lines are openly aggressive, which makes them harder to challenge. If you push back, you look rude. If you stay quiet, the tension stays in your chest for the rest of the conversation. You are stuck managing their emotions while swallowing your own. And after enough repetitions, something shifts inside you. The call stops feeling like connection and starts feeling like performance. You are not checking in, you are proving loyalty. You are not sharing your life, you are defending it. That is why so many adult children feel tired before they even answer the phone. Because deep down, they know this is not just a conversation. You are not having a conversation. You are being audited. You are not avoiding your parents. You are avoiding the feeling that comes with the call. Here is the uncomfortable truth many families never say out loud. Some parents do not know how to ask for closeness without making you feel a little guilty first. They are not always trying to manipulate you. They are using the only tool that ever worked. For years, guilt got results. It made children listen, behave, call back, come home. It kept the family close. So the habit stayed, even after the children grew up. Your life moved forward. Their expectations did not. Your life stopped revolving around the family. That is not betrayal. That is adulthood. But from their perspective, distance can feel like rejection, even when it is simply independence. And when people feel rejected, they rarely ask gently for reassurance. They reach for control. Not because they are cruel, but because control feels safer than vulnerability. That is why the first sentence of the call often sounds like a test instead of a greeting. It is not really about the week you forgot to call. It is about the fear of becoming less important in your life. And fear, especially in older generations, rarely sounds soft. It sounds like pressure. It sounds like sarcasm. It sounds like disappointment dressed up as a joke. Some parents do not ask for closeness. They create guilt and call that closeness. That line is harsh, but it explains a lot. Guilt is one of the fastest ways to get attention. It is also one of the fastest ways to damage trust. In some families, guilt is how love enters the room. The problem is that guilt can imitate love just well enough to confuse people. When guilt becomes the main way connection happens, love starts to feel like an obligation instead of a relationship. And once that shift happens, the pattern becomes predictable. They push harder. You pull back faster. The more they worry, the less you want to engage. The less you engage, the more they worry. That is how a loving relationship slowly turns into tension, not because love disappeared, but because the method of expressing it stopped working. What makes this dynamic so exhausting is not the sarcasm itself. It is the feeling of being turned into the problem at the exact moment you are trying to do something right. You finally make the call. You show up with goodwill, and instead of being welcomed, you are subtly reminded of everything you did not do. Your effort does not register as care. It registers as delay. It feels like arriving with flowers and being asked why you did not come sooner. That is why your body reacts before your mind catches up. Your chest tightens. Your voice softens. You start explaining things nobody has even questioned yet. Sorry, work has been crazy. I meant to call earlier. Things have just been hectic. Within seconds, you are negotiating your innocence instead of enjoying the conversation. You are not relaxing into connection. You are managing damage. Over time, this repetition rewires your emotional response to the phone itself. You see their name on the screen and hesitate. Not because you do not care, but because you know the call might cost you energy you do not have that day. You start delaying, texting instead of calling, promising yourself you will reach out tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes next week. The distance grows quietly, not from lack of love, but from emotional fatigue. The hardest part to admit is this: the call is not heavy because you do not love your parents. It is heavy because love keeps getting turned into responsibility. When every conversation feels like proof of loyalty, affection starts to feel like duty. And duty, repeated often enough, slowly drains the joy out of connection. That is the trap. Love is still there. It just no longer feels light. Let's say this plainly, because many adults carry shame about it. Feeling frustrated in these moments does not make you selfish. It means you are tired. Tired of managing everyone else's emotions while trying to hold your own life together. You are working, paying bills, raising children, managing stress, building a life, and still feeling judged by how often you call home. That is exhausting. And understanding your parents' feelings does not mean surrendering your boundaries. You can know they miss you. You can know they worry. You can know aging can be lonely, and still refuse to accept guilt as the price of connection. Love should not require constant proof. Loyalty should not require constant availability. Some families confuse loyalty with availability, and that confusion quietly drains the relationship. Here is the truth that makes many people uncomfortable. You are allowed to love your parents without shrinking your life to make them comfortable. You are allowed to protect your time. You are allowed to have a full, busy, independent life that does not revolve around weekly check-ins. That is not rebellion. That is adulthood. Healthy relationships do not survive because one person keeps sacrificing more. They survive because both sides adjust. Sometimes that adjustment is small, answering calmly, not apologizing automatically, or gently pushing back when guilt shows up. Over time, those small corrections teach a new rule. Connection is welcome. Pressure is not. You are allowed to love your parents without surrendering your peace. So the next time your phone lights up with mom or dad and you feel that familiar knot in your stomach, pause for a second before you answer. Not to prepare another apology, not to rehearse another excuse, just to remember something important. You are not a child reporting for duty anymore. You are an adult choosing to stay connected. You do not have to fix their loneliness in a single phone call. You do not have to carry the emotional weight of the whole family on your shoulders. And you definitely do not have to keep proving your love just to keep the peace. Love is not a loyalty test. It is not a performance review. It is not a debt. The shift is usually quiet. You stop apologizing automatically. You stop explaining your life like a mistake. And slowly, the relationship changes. Most families are not fighting over love. They are fighting over the shape of it. And once you see that clearly, one truth becomes hard to ignore. You can love your parents deeply without sacrificing your peace. Sometimes that idea starts an argument. Sometimes it starts healing. Either way, it starts something real.